This week on Culture Q, queer love reigns supreme.
We talk about the state of gender-affirming care in the U.S.
And then we get into the Filth with Katrina Kemp. What is going on? It is Amy Lawani here.
And I'm Cheryl Lazar. This is Culture Q.
And here's some of the highlights from this week in queer culture.
This week we are kicking things off celebrating queer love. Starting with a throwback for me, New Kids on the Block member Jonathan Knight married his longtime boyfriend, Harley Rodriguez. Knight let the news slip during an interview with Entertainment Tonight for his home renovation show, Farmhouse Fixer. Knight referred to Rodriguez as his husband.
And hopefully we'll fix me and my husband's house and...
Okay, wait, I have to ask. I don't mean to pry, but you just said husband.
Yes.
Did you get married?
The star was playfully flustered.
That's a big question.
Okay.
We may have or we may not have.
Well, you're wearing a wedding ring, John.
Yes, we're married, yes.
Well, congratulations.
Well, what a happy surprise. Also, remember actress Jenna Malone? During the 90s and early 2000s, Malone starred in iconic films like Donnie Darko and The Hunger Games. Well, she recently came out as pansexual. The Rebel Moon star describes the experience saying, "It felt so nice. The sexual journey is so beautiful." Malone came out in a lovely post on Instagram too. The video was her dancing and the caption began with, "I guess it felt like I was a heterosexual man in a woman's body." She continued on to describe her journey to self-expression, capping the post off with, "I love humans, so there's that." And celebs were on hand to offer their congrats, including George Takei, who tweeted simply, "How wonderful." Malone shared with The Hollywood Reporter how her family dynamics have made her feel more comfortable coming out since she was raised by two moms. We move on to France, where the singer Chris, who's known as the frontman of Christine and the Queens presents Red Car, shared with the world that he uses he/him pronouns. Chris posted a multi-part TikTok that explained the change in French, sharing that for a long time he's had a difficult relationship with his gender. He says, "I've been a man for a year now, a little more officially in my family and in my relationship. It is a long process." And Twitter was here for it, with fans welcoming him into the family. Meanwhile, more big news for Chris on the horizon. His band has a new album out this September.
In an era of Hollywood where everyone keeps receipts, we're seeing more and more real-life villains being taken down. Michael J. Cohen, and no, not Trump's lawyer, was one of the prominent figures in the New York City nightlife scene, especially when it came to gay spaces. Getting an invite to a Cohen party meant the door was open for you. All you had to do was walk through, until allegedly Cohen began to charge and then raise the price of admission.
Michael J. Cohen faces a range of sexual misconduct claims that span at least a decade. They include accusations that he groped or pressured men to have sex or send nude photos, along with the claim of sexual assault.
The allegations gained steam after two men stepped forward and accused Cohen of repeated sexual misconduct and assault. Charles Battersby and Stephen Carlstrom both alleged that Cohen, 20 years their senior, offered them both entry into the New York City nightclub scene and expected more than a thank you in return. Battersby says Cohen began to grope him and he put up with it because he thought it was the price of admission. Carlstrom claims Cohen promised him jobs if he performed sexual favors. The jobs, of course, never happened. The more stories that have come out, the more of his disturbing past, including years of manipulation and abuse, come to light. Cohen has rubbed elbows with some of the biggest gay celebs like Neil Patrick Harris, Lil Nas X, and even Tom Daley. The parties were seen by many as a haven for gays to have fun and form a community. In 2020, Cohen opened a club called Motel 23. He went in with 4 investors whom you might recognize, people like Bryan Singer, Jeff Davis, Anthony Watson, and Adam Press. Instantly, negative reviews with accusations of racism and sexism began to flood Yelp. The club became very popular, and one night a young man stood in line waiting to get in. He anonymously told NBC News that he was offered to be let in, but his friend, who was black, would be charged $250. The tipster went to Instagram and created the My Motel 23 reality account, where people could anonymously send their experiences. It was here that many began to see the number of young men who were taken advantage of. Cohen's spokesperson Alifair Hall wrote, "Mr. Cohen absolutely denies allegations that he groped, sexually assaulted, forcibly kissed, or demanded sex from anyone." Hall went on to add, "Cohen has never engaged in any sexual activity that was not unmistakably consensual. Meanwhile, 3 of the 9 cases provided screenshots of Cohen asking the men repeatedly for explicit photos. Hall insists that while Cohen did ask for sexual pictures, he never pressured men to have sex. RuPaul's Drag Race star Britta Filter said Cohen was known as an older man that liked younger boys. Quote, "If you're a really good-looking young white boy, Michael is going to be into you." Shortly after the IG account began, Motel 23 closed for planned remodeling. There hasn't been an update since, and many believe the closure is connected to the allegations. The bar closed July 28th, and the 29th, Cohen listed his Tribeca apartment for rent. Karlstrom hopes that's the last he says of him, saying, "We can all speak out against him right now and be stronger together as a community. It's just time to get him out."
And now your recap of the LGBTQ news you need to know for this week. Sadly, a trans man died in Indonesia while on his honeymoon. Indonesian police say there was no violence involved in his death, but friends and family are suspicious. 32-year-old Rodrigo Ventusia died 5 days after being detained in Indonesia. Customs claim he was in the possession of illegal drugs. What they found on him was an herb grinder, prescription medications, and a half-pound of cannabis edibles. The Harvard Kennedy Master's candidate was vacationing with their spouse, Sebastian Marilano. His family claimed they were unable to see or talk to Ventusia. Bali police are floating the idea that Ventusia took some drugs they missed during the original search, and then he was taken to hospital after he complained of stomach pain. The family, though, is refusing to believe this and have hired a lawyer to continue investigating. The state of trans rights across the country are just as in flux as they are worldwide. Moving on to gender-affirming care in the US, which has been a roller coaster that somehow goes down more than it goes up. So first, let's look at the good news. In Arkansas, a federal appeals court blocked the state ban providing gender-affirming care to trans youth. The lawsuit was filed for 4 trans kids, their parents, and 2 Arkansas doctors. They argued that if the law went into effect, it could do irreparable harm to trans youth, and they're set to go to trial in October. Finally, someone talking some sense, but unfortunately the sense didn't reach Florida, where Governor DeSantis and his minions are at it again. The secretary for the AHCA wrote a release saying gender-affirming care wasn't actually medically necessary, and that's despite the medical consensus that it most definitely is. This is especially damaging to the over 100,000 trans adults living in Florida, which has one of the largest trans populations in the country. 300 doctors signed an open letter denouncing the change, but ACHA persisted, passing the new regulations in late July, and they went into effect August 21st. I mean, trans health seems to be the new fad, along with banning sports and pretty much the existence of all trans people. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to ban healthcare nationwide, hoping to charge healthcare providers who treat trans youth with a felony and up to 25 years in prison. The bill received co-sponsorship from 19 Republicans. So if you want a list of people not to vote for, we suggest starting with this group. And that was the LGBTQ news you need to know for this week.
This week in the US, we're celebrating Labor Day with a long, hopefully relaxing weekend. Here are some titles to keep you entertained during the break. First up is Steam Room Stories, the movie. Failing cosmetics magnate Sally Faye will stop at nothing to possess the waters of the steam room to help lift her sagging empire. What she doesn't count on is the steam room guys banding together to stop her evil plans. Next, there's Finding Mr. Right. In Finding Mr. Right, Clark Townsend is an ambitious, serious-minded talent manager who is forced to finally get some me time when he accompanies his best friend and wayward client Eddie to a wilderness therapy retreat. There he meets Pierce Wright, Eddie's life coach and counselor. Sparks fly, and Clark is taken on the retreat of his life. Finally, we have The Filth. Stella, a bisexual plumber by day and go-go dancer by night, leans into her blossoming romance with Jocelyn, a little person. Meanwhile, her bestie Max juggles a stunted acting career and grapples with his love for his questionably straight roommate, Danny. Max and Stella's lives get even more tangled when their colorful cast of friends and frenemies involve themselves in their issues, blurring the lines between friendship and romance. For all these titles and so much more, you can stream them right here, right now on Revry. From dance floors to nightclubs on Broadway, TV and movies, Katrina Kemp seems to be everywhere. As one of the stars of The Filth, she's taking us into the world's best fever dream.
If Lena Dunham's girls met the characters from Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then they all met up at an underground rave.
Kemp plays Jocelyn, who is trying to navigate a messy relationship with Stella, played by creator and writer Paige Hoffman. Jocelyn sees the club as a place of safety.
You can go to this place and to this community to be yourself and dance all night, be creative, make art, make costumes, be the superhero that you want to be. You're not asking to be the hottest one there or the coolest one there, but like, just as long as you're accepted by all of these weirdos, like, you will be safe and you will survive.
While the series was created by Jake Delaney, Cara Fano, and Paige Hoffman, Kemp was able to ad-lib and add a lot of her own experiences in too.
A lot of the things that Jocelyn ended up doing and saying were pulled directly from my own life, and I was really happy that they trusted me with that. My absolute favorite moment while creating the Filth was walking in on set for the first time into the club scene and just realizing how everybody had manifested creating Electric Chapel, which was based off of the Lady Gaga song in Born This Way album.
The series is very fun, but underneath the filth, there's an inspiring message.
Is messy, and that's okay. Authenticity can be fun. It was really important for us that people of all different kinds of identities, but people that could be attracted to like a safe space to be themselves. And I really, really hope that people do connect to some of the characters.
Shake that body, show me that la-la. Shake that body, ain't no mama la-la. Everything good in life comes for free. Happiness, love, and family.
Our Culture Q inspiration goes to Dove Cameron, who is not only the better boyfriend, but also an MTV VMA's New Artist winner. Cameron rocked the audience at the awards show last weekend with a live and super queer performance of her hit single, Boyfriend. She also beat out other fan faves for the night's big win, like Mainskin and 17.
I want to dedicate this to all of the queer kids out there.
Cameron went on to say her dedication was for those queer kids who don't feel like they can take up space and live their truth.
Thank you for getting an overtly queer song onto mainstream radio.
And Twitter and IG poured in compliments, including MTV, who said, "Proud of you for using your platform for the best reasons." And the HRC thanks Cameron too for such a powerful message. And while we're on the VMAs, the night was pretty full with other queer moments, including Lil Nas X in a fabulous Harris gown inspired by Iman's 2021 Met Gala gown. Bad Bunny making out with a cute male dancer. And Monet Exchange and Peppermint's red carpet antics that left us wishing they were the show.
Dylan O'Brien from Teen Wolf. Oh that's God. Right. I love Dylan. No, Dylan, listen. I remember, yeah.
Yes, that is inspiring.
Yep, and you gotta love seeing beautiful inclusion on mainstream shows like that. And with that, that's all for this week on Culture Q. I'm Cheryl Lazar.
And it's Annie Maloney signing out.
Thanks again for hanging out with us this week.
And be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.